We're living through the loneliest period in the human history. We have more ways to connect than ever, like dating apps, social media, endless way to meet people. But nearly 60% of adults say they are lonely. The paradox is quite interesting. Theoretically, finding love should be easier than ever, but instead, connection is collapsing. But there's one group experiencing this crisis at a completely different level, and that is people with ADHD. People with ADHD are significantly more likely to experience chronic loneliness and relationship difficulties. Adults with ADHD have divorce rates nearly twice as high as neurotypical adults, and many struggle to form relationships at all, let alone to maintain them. And here's what actually makes it worse. If you have ADHD, you probably have seen the cycle enough times that you actually stopped trying. You met someone, it didn't work out. You tried it again and same result, and after enough rounds of that, something actually shifts in your brain. You stop seeing it as bad luck or bad timing, and you start seeing it as a proof that you are the problem. And you start to believe that you're not built for this, that something is fundamentally wrong with how you love people. Once you start thinking that way, you actually stop putting yourself out there. It's not necessarily because you don't want connection or other people, you actually do, but because every past experience is telling you that it's going to end in the same way. So why bother? You essentially taught yourself to expect failure before anything even begins. And I need you to really hear this one, okay? That belief is based on real experiences, that is for sure, but it is built on wrong conclusion. You're not unlovable or not necessarily bad at love. There are patterns happening in your dating life that you haven't connected to your ADHD yet. And once you see those patterns, you can actually do something about them. It's not about making an excuse that you have an ADHD, but building systems and methods to combat them. So in this video, I'm going to show you what these patterns are, why your brain creates them, and how to get out of this loop. So let's talk about finding love, the initial phase. Here's what's actually interesting about ADHD. If you have ADHD, you're probably really good at meeting people. When someone new catches your attention, your brain releases a spike of dopamine and norepinephrine that's way more intense than what a neurotypical brain would produce in the same reaction, because novelty is one of the strongest dopamine triggers for ADHD brains. So that first conversation, that first date, it feels like electric to you and you're fully present, you're engaged, and you're remembering every little thing that they say. In the moment, you are genuinely into them, and your world literally revolves around them. But here's actually what happens neurologically. Your brain isn't attaching to the person, it's actually attaching to the novelty. And novelty has an expiration date. Once your brain adapts to this person as a known stimulus, the dopamine drops. It could be days, it could be weeks, but suddenly that intensity is just gone. You stop thinking about them as much, and you don't feel that initial pull anymore. For you, your attention naturally moved to somewhere else. It can be another person, or it can be even a new thing or a hobby that you are obsessed with right now. Whatever else grabbed your attention at that moment. But the person on the other side experienced something completely different. They experienced someone who was fully present and fully obsessed with them, like texting them constantly, making them feel like they're the center of everything. And now that person just went cold. They think something went wrong. Maybe, they think you were falling in love with them, but maybe they did something wrong that, made you cold. Or maybe they think you're already moved on. This is essentially like what people actually call like love bombing. But with ADHD, it's not necessarily manipulative. It's more about a hyperfixation. And your brain does the same thing with people that does it with a new hobby or a new interest. The interesting thing about ADHD, in my opinion, is that wherever your attention goes, it goes all in, and it could be a person or it could be a hobby. For a neurotypical person, people and hobbies are in completely two different categories. But for an ADHD person, I think it's all just stimulus. So the workaround for this is, the biggest thing here is to recognize that the hyperfixation phase is not the same as long-term compatibility. Just because it feels intense doesn't mean this person is the one. I actually read books about this hyperfixation in people, and the solution comes down to a basic thing, which is setting a hard rule of no more than 2 days per week in the first month, regardless of how badly you want to see them. It's not necessarily about like playing games, but it's actually giving your brain to separate dopamine from actual compatibility. When the urge hits to see them every day, you need to redirect that energy into something else, and you need to let the gaps exist. And also, after every interaction, you need to ask yourself 3 different questions. The first one is, what specific thing did I learn about them today as a person? Second one, can I name 3 ways we are actually compatible beyond their interesting? And the third one, which is the most important one, is if this intensity disappeared tomorrow, would I still want to pursue this? You need to give yourself gaps so that you can actually check in with yourself and ask yourself, am I into this person? Or am I just into the dopamine and idea of this person? This will save both of you from a heartache. Now, let's add social media and dating apps to everything I just said, because this is where actually it really gets bad. Because with dating apps, you have constant unlimited access to new people. Every swipe, every DM, every new follower is a potential dopamine hit for our brain. And our brain, remember, is wired to chase novelty. So each person feels more interesting than the one before. Not necessarily because they're better in some way, but just because they're new. And the thing is, ADHD brains already struggle with something called object permanence in relationships, which basically is out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing. If someone isn't directly in front of you or actively in your notifications reaching out to you, they kind of stop existing in your mind, It's not even you don't like them, but it's just that you forget that they exist, because your working memory just don't hold onto them the way a neurotypical brain would. So when a new person pops up, the person you went on a great date last week, if they haven't texted you, then you already kind of forget them. So you end up in this loop where you are amazing at first impressions, but you never follow through long enough for anything real to develop. And you might not even notice the pattern because each new beginning feels like this could be the one. So if you're genuinely trying to build something with someone, you need to actually limit your dating app usage and kind of create specific time blocks or delete them entirely during that phase. And for the out of sight, out of problem, actually, this is something that I do right now, which is setting a recurring calendar reminders to reach out to people, not only romantic, but also to platonic relationships as well. And it sounds unromantic, but when it comes to relationships with ADHD, it's not necessarily about feelings, but it's about the consistency that neurotypicals want from us to feel they are loved. And by the way, the specific ways all of these patterns show up for you depends on which ADHD type you have. Because with ADHD, we actually have 3 types: inattentive, hyperactive, and the combined type. And all of them actually affect your relationship differently. I created a free quiz where you can figure out which type of ADHD you have, and you also get weekly tips on how to manage it. So if you're interested, links in the description below. Okay, so let's say you went on a great date, okay? You had a great time and you genuinely like that person, and then you just never follow up. The date ends, you go home, something else grabs your attention, and your working memory just lets it slip, and it's already 3 days go by and you haven't texted them. And then once you realize it's been 3 days, it actually gets worse because you tell yourself right now that, oh, it's too late that I haven't texted them, that they think I don't care about them, so it might be better that I just don't text them because they might be mad. And you keep developing that thought, adding layers to it, imagining how the conversation would go if you did text, all the way it could be awkward if you would reach out again, etc. In my opinion, this is what people don't understand about ADHD. When a neurotypical person thinks about something that might go wrong in the future, they think about it and they keep it at a distance. For them, the time works in a linear way. So there's a past, there's current, and there's future, okay? And future hasn't come yet. But in my opinion, okay, this is a personal conclusion of mine with ADHD. If you have ADHD, time doesn't work like that. For me, at least, past, present, and future, all of them are happening right now. So when my brain starts imagining this person is mad at me, or that I ruined this, I just don't think about the outcome in the future. I feel it's already happening right now in the moment. The rejection hasn't even occurred yet, but it's hitting me it's happening right now at the current time zone I'm in. I sit with the feeling and the weight of the rejection that's entirely imagined, and the logical move is just to text them, but I feel and I believe that I'm already rejected, that I treat it like it's too late, so I do nothing, and then just connection dies quiet. The one workaround that I found, this applies for friendships as well, is while you're still on the date, okay, plan the next meetup immediately on the time that you're meeting them. Or even if you forget it, text them back when you're going back to your home. Not until you go to home and text them let's hang out on next Friday. But while you're on there, you have to do it. Because the more you wait, the bigger the chances of you not reaching out gets like bigger and bigger. You can also tell your friends to kind of like remind you or set reminders to yourself as well. But when it comes to following up with ADHD, in my opinion, we have to do it in person at the end of the first thing, because otherwise it's not going to happen. So let's say you actually made it past the first date and you are in a relationship now. Wow, congrats. One thing that no one really prepares you for is when one person has ADHD, it actually means that the couple have it, okay? Both partners are going to live it, because everything that affects you is going to affect them in intimate relationships, right? Like your forgetfulness, your energy crashes, your need for silence after a long day, or your brain jumping between 10 things at once. All of that lands on the other person too, because it is an intimate relationship. Everyone says like communication is the key. If you can just communicate better, everything will work out. And yes, like communication is absolutely essential, that is for sure, but it's not the complete solution that everyone makes it out to be, because you can communicate perfectly and still struggle, because the real issue isn't that you're not talking. The issue is that your brains are operating on a completely different systems. And ADHD doesn't go away. Medications and treatments don't cure it. They help you manage the symptoms, but the way your brain operates is fundamentally different. You get from point A to point B in a completely non-linear way, and you process conversations differently, and you experience time differently, and you prioritize differently. And if your partner doesn't have ADHD, their brain works in a completely different operating system than yours. So if neither of you understand that, then every single difference is going to feel like a personal attack. And in my opinion, this is one of the reasons why relationships where one partner has ADHD are twice as likely to fail compared to relationships where neither partner has it. So communication obviously matters, but you need to understand what's happening and to build solutions together rather than just saying what is going on, because understanding alone isn't enough. What actually makes the difference is pairing that communication with concrete systems, workarounds, and adjusted expectations for both sides. Both partners need to talk and act on it. Without the systems to support what you communicated, you end up in a loop where you talked about same issue 100 times, but nothing actually changed. That's when both people start feeling like failures in the relationship. The communication only opens the door, but action is what keeps it open. And if there's one thing that does the most damage in ADHD relationships, in my opinion, it is the attention, or more accurately, the lack of it. Because when you have ADHD, your attention is not something you fully control. It goes where it goes. And in a relationship, that means your partner is going to experience moments where they're talking to you and you're physically there, but mentally somewhere else. And they're going to tell you something important, and 2 weeks later, you won't remember the conversation ever happened. They're going to feel like they have to repeat themselves over and over and over again just to get your attention. Eventually, they start to interpret this as not a brain thing, but more like you don't really care about me, or you don't even love me enough. There's actually a quote from a book called The Couple's Guide to Thriving with ADHD that captures this perfectly that I want to share. A non-ADHD partner described how they would say something once with no response, say it again louder, and eventually just get in their partner's face and yell. And then the ADHD partner gets angry because from their perspective, the yelling came out of nowhere. They didn't hear the first 3 attempts. Both people are frustrated for completely valid reasons, but neither of them sees the full picture. And the painful part is that the ADHD partner might genuinely love this person, but love without visible attention doesn't register. You can say, I love you 100 times, but if your partner doesn't feel seen or doesn't feel heard, and they think you just don't remember anything that they say and nothing matters to you about them, then words stop meaning anything. They start saying that it doesn't show up in your actions. I don't believe that you love me. And they're not wrong, but you're also not doing it on purpose. And this kind of lack of attention, or you drifting and forgetting the important things that they told you to remember, doesn't really happen immediately. It gets kind of stacked over time. Maybe Tuesday you needed silence after work, they wanted to talk to you, or Thursday you were distant at dinner with friends because you were overstimulated from the environment, and Saturday you forgot about the plans. For a neurotypical brain that processes time linearly, these moments form a pattern, a story. And the story where they're writing is, this person is pulling away from me. They are building a future based on pattern they're tracking, and you don't even realize the pattern exists because each moment feels separate for you. It's not that, oh, I'm starting to slowly pull away from this person, but it's just that you were distracted at that moment, and that is really what it is. So for the workaround that I read in the book is that 2 things. First, narrate what's happening in real time, not after the fact, not after what they're already upset, but in the moment. For example, if you are feeling very overstimulated and you don't want to talk, you have to say them in the moment that you are feeling overstimulated and you want to talk 30 minutes later, I'm all yours, okay? It's actually important that this conversation happens during the moment and not after, because it actually separates the behavior from the meaning. And the second one is scheduling a dedicated time together as recommended in the book. Not like we should spend more time, etc., but actually creating a recurring blocks. For example, every Saturday, like from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., you are supposed to spend time together. You can decide what you're going to do on that time, but the most important thing is that you guys spending time together and having that block, and that is non-negotiable for each of you. And when you do that, it's way easier for an ADHD person to actually show up and really commit to showing attention part of it. And also another thing in the book that is recommended is creating actually a small recurring actions that shows that you care about them and you love them. It can be basically making a cup of coffee every morning for them, as much as you remember, obviously, or even doing something that you're good at and you like and that they appreciate every day, so that it's a small gesture to show that you love them. And also another thing that was recommended in the book was, if you're struggling with connection side, scheduling 10 to 15 minutes of non-sexual cuddle time in the morning or at night to really show that you love them, and it actually boosts your serotonin, and it actually helps you produce oxytocin as well. Regardless of how chaotic the day is, it is important to make time, an actual time, for you to connect with your partner. And this brings to me something I feel really strongly about. If you're watching this and you suspect you have ADHD, please go to a professional and get properly diagnosed. Don't just self-diagnose yourself from content you see online, even this one. I say this because I've seen what happens on both sides. Before people around me got diagnosed, their relationship were really struggling, and relationships get more and more important as you age, in my opinion. And nobody connects the dots between ADHD and the relationship patterns or problems that they have, the forgetfulness, the inconsistency, the arguments. But I've seen many times over and over that after they get properly diagnosed and start their treatment, whether that's the therapy, whether that's building systems or medication, their relationship actually improved significantly. Once we understand what's happening, the overall dynamic changes. So there are less arguments and more talks about how we can combat this as a couple. This is not necessarily because medication fixes ADHD or anything, but it's about having an understanding of the common patterns that arises and the reason behind them. So it stops being a personal attack to the other person. And please never self-diagnose yourself based on a TikTok or an article that you see online, because ADHD symptoms overlap with many different conditions like anxiety, depression, sleep disorders, thyroid issues, and even vitamin deficiencies and brain rot, etc. And it's incredibly easy to misdiagnose yourself because ADHD affects every aspect of our lives, and you can see a list of symptoms and they can feel relatable and you can think that's me, but those same symptoms can point to 10 different things, and only a professional can actually distinguish between them. And also the intensity of these symptoms are the important thing as well. This is the thing about the self-diagnosis, right? Because it keeps you on doubt. You're always going to wonder if you're just making it up. When you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist if you want, and then they confirm it, you stop actually blaming yourself for the things that you were never character flaws. It's not necessarily about using it as an excuse, but when you're sure that it's ADHD, then the workarounds becomes way more clear. If you have ADHD, you are operating differently than other people. And the classical relationship advice might not ever work for you because you operate differently. You have this hyperfixation towards people. You forget people, even how much you like them, and you can feel really bad about it. And you can feel very shameful. Once these patterns keep going on and you, after enough failed connections, you start to see that this is an evidence of you're not built for relationships and you're doomed to be single your whole life, or not even single, but lonely and build relationships with people. When you start believing that, you stop taking an action and it becomes a learned helplessness. But every pattern has a reason and a workaround. It's not that you're unlovable or you're doomed to be alone, but it's that your brain works differently, you process the world differently. And once you understand that, You can build systems, workarounds, mindsets around it instead of fighting yourself constantly. The loneliness that you're experiencing doesn't have to be permanent, but the first step is understanding what's causing it. If you want to learn more about how ADHD medication work and how it can help you, or how it affected me, basically side effects, workarounds, etc., then you can watch this video next where I talk about it in detail.